Donna Brazile joins me now in the studio. Donna, good to have you here.
It's wonderful to be back on the West Coast.
Well, you write in your book that when you took the Democratic Party's top job in July 2016, you looked for evidence that the DNC was, quote, rigging the system in favor of Hillary Clinton. Did you find any evidence?
I became chair because the DNC was a victim of a hacking. The hacking that occurred allowed WikiLeaks and others to release emails. After the convention, I promised Bernie that I would go back to the DNC to ensure that there was no rigging of the election process. So I did not find any evidence of the primary being rigged. But what I did find broke my heart. And I write in the book that while the Clinton campaign, along with the Sanders campaign, had signed these joint fundraising agreements, the Clinton campaign had an addendum which gave them control over certain divisions of the DNC. I thought that the Clinton campaign had an unfair advantage of being able to fund the DNC, which was broke at the time. But they were funding 3 divisions of the DNC while the nominating process. It did not impact the debates, it did not impact the primary calendar, and it did not impact any votes.
And you write in your book that the fundraising agreement allowed the Hillary Clinton campaign to control finances and strategy. Doesn't that, though, count as rigging in a sense? Because it inevitably sort of moves the DNC in a certain direction against Bernie Sanders, does it not?
Well, this agreement, which took place in September of 2015, basically gave the Clinton campaign the ability to finance these divisions that they were financing applied to the fall campaign. For example, research division, they did not research Bernie Sanders or Martin O'Malley or Lincoln Chafee or Mr. Webb. Or Hillary Clinton. They researched Donald Trump, who was becoming like one of the top Republican candidates. So financing these divisions, in my judgment, while a primary campaign is still going on, was a bad judgment on their part to do so, because it would, have us discussing rigging when in fact it wasn't rigged.
And then this week on Late Night on Seth Meyers, Hillary Clinton pretty much took your book to task. And we have one clip from that interview. Let's take a look at that.
Okay. Donna Brazile wrote a book. I know she's a longtime colleague of yours. And she sort of, in her book, made this comment that your campaign, through an agreement, had too much influence to maybe at the detriment of the Sanders campaign. She sort of walked back those comments now.
Yeah.
What was your reaction to that?
I didn't know what she was referring to because, as has now come out, that just wasn't the case.
What would you say in response to her?
Well, first of all, I would say to Secretary Clinton, who I respect and admire, that the memorandum of agreement that was signed between the DNC staff and her staff kept me from doing my job. It kept me, as an officer of the DNC, from doing what I believe was necessary, not only to help her win, but for Democrats up and down the ticket. The decision not to put resources in states that were critical allowed Donald Trump to break the blue wall. The firewall wasn't so strong if Donald Trump could come in there and take 78,000 votes and become president. And I believe that the Russians, with the campaign of disinformation and disruption, sought to discredit Hillary Clinton. And my job was to try to defend Hillary Clinton. But when you're chair of the party and you cannot even spend the money that you raise because of this memorandum, which I call cancer, I could not help Hillary Clinton.
One of the most explosive revelations in your book deals with Hillary Clinton's collapse following the 9/11 memorial ceremony last year. And you said you were so concerned about her health that you actually at one point considered dumping Clinton and Tim Kaine and instead nominate Joe Biden and Cory Booker. How serious were you about that?
When the video of her falling down or stumbling went viral, there was a story that appeared in Politico from a former chair of the DNC, Mr. Donald Fowler Sr., who said that the DNC should be prepared. And as chair of the party, my job was to confer with other leaders. We never had to take those extraordinary steps. But what I did do was tamp down the rumors and go out on television and say that she's going to return to the campaign trail.
As you know, many insiders, more than 100 former Clinton aides, wrote an open letter criticizing that very point in your book, that you would even contemplate something like that. Shocks them.
Well, maybe they should read the book before they read excerpts and react. anyone who knows me know that I care deeply about our country. And I also write in the book that I knew that Hillary would be able to go on. I had to make sure, because she's the nominee of the Democratic National Committee, not reverse. I didn't report to the Clinton campaign. I was the chair of the Democratic National Committee, which nominated Hillary Clinton to be our nominee. And I supported Secretary Clinton's campaign 100%.
You yourself have been accused in the past of giving special advantage to Hillary Clinton at one point. The hacked emails that you have talked about show that when you were a CNN analyst, you tipped off the Clinton campaign on questions in Democratic debates. Why did you do that?
As a CNN contributor, not an analyst, I did not have access to CNN debate questions. What I did was I worked to expand the number of debates and town hall meetings and forums. During the winter of 2015, 2016, the DNC came under withering attacks for only scheduling 6 debates. And my job as the vice chair of the party was to advocate for additional debates and town hall forums. My CNN hat was to make sure that my CNN colleagues had access to those additional town halls and debates. And then my role back as vice chair of the party was to ensure that the candidates understood that we would not just expand the debates in town halls, but we would also have diverse moderators to ensure that questions involving the death penalty, questions involving mass incarceration, questions involving the Flint water crisis. I brought it to the attention of both candidates. What I wrote in the book is that I could not find any of the questions that they said I gave to the Clinton campaign or the Sanders campaign, because my DNC account was hacked, and then I lost all my emails. We couldn't verify if these emails were accurate or not accurate.
But then why did you write an essay for Time magazine? And these were your words. You said sending those emails was a mistake I will forever regret.
I did.
What kind of emails were you talking about? If it sounded like an admission that you had sent the questions to the Clinton campaign.
No, it's an admission that I sent emails to both campaigns, but I could not find them. And I said it's one that I would regret, because in not being able to find them so I could verify to the American people and to my colleagues on the DNC that I was fair to both campaigns, I could not find those emails. At the same time, Bernie Sanders' campaign went public when these revelations came out. And you know what they said? They said Donna Brazile was fair to us too. I was fair to everybody. In fact, I was fair to Republicans, because often when I would get topics about what we would be discussing, I would call Sean Spicer. This was Sean before the White House. I was trying to say, Sean, we're about to discuss this. What do you think? That's how I do my job as a political commentator, not an analyst.
What were you hoping to achieve by writing this book? Why did you write it?
Because our country was under attack in 2016, and I was afraid that the American people would not fully understand the hacking, what happened, the corruption of data, the misinformation, the intent on behalf of President Putin to discredit and destroy Hillary Clinton, and of course, the open wounds that I continue to see within the Democratic Party. I hope the reader will come away understanding what happened in 2016, and that we all agree to work to strengthen our democracy, to make it better, and to get the Russians out of our electoral system.
As you know, though, your book has upset a lot of Democrats. In fact, Charlie Cook of the nonpartisan Cook Political Report called your book a political suicide note. Is your book hurting the Democratic Party as it looks ahead to the 2018 midterm elections? Instead of unifying, it's basically reviving old feuds and old divisions, especially between Clinton and Bernie Sanders.
I think I've upset the consultant class, and I have no regrets in opening up a wound that wasn't going to heal properly unless we talked about it. You know, at the end of the day, if next year the Democratic Party invests in all 50 states and the District of Columbia, if the Democratic Party recruits more candidates, not just those that the Beltway decide are viable, and if ordinary citizens understand now how to protect their own personal identities from hacking, and the United States government begin to protect us from hacking, then I would have done my job.
Donna Brazile, author of Hacks, the inside story of the break-ins and breakdowns that put Donald Trump in the White House. Pleasure to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.